What about what would you say to the silent victims and the people involved, or people who have experienced no-fault divorce and the tragedies that have transpired from that? Because the narrative is very much being controlled from one source, and that's the family law section of the state bar associations. These divorce attorneys, they profit off of exploiting the adversarial conflicts between spouses, but not at the grounds for divorce stage.
Mm-hmm.
Once they can get past that, then the conflict and the adversarial nature is about the children, the custody, the finances, the estate, and all those issues. And so that's what they exploit. But basically, this group primarily, there are a few others, but they're hired hands essentially by this group, are controlling the narrative. And so there's no material, there's no literature. I think you're one of very few that speak out against this, write books about it, go on YouTube lectures and interviews, because there's very, very little literature on the issue. There's very little discussion. There's no public debate. And I wonder if it's coming from the fact that there's one narrative. I'm wondering if it's because these have been silenced victims that are now living in trailer parks and under the bridges and who knows where. Who are their advocates, and how what would you say to them that there's millions of these people, and I'm sure many of them are very much against unilateral no-fault divorce specifically, and I'm sure that if all of these people were reached somehow, that there would be a huge pushback against the family law section, because many people have been victims of these divorce attorneys, and in many cases, the real passion comes from alienated spouses and spouses who have been fighting child custody for years and years and years, and these are really fuming, passionate parents, and rightfully so. But if you gathered all of these people together, I think that they would probably say, yes, let's get rid of no-fault divorce. And then you have these elites that basically say, it's a bad idea, it's going to cost us more, And I have a quote here that says, what group of people will benefit from the repeal of no-fault divorce? Lawyers. And I find that very difficult, very, very rhetorically dishonest to say. Because the people that suffer are the real individuals, the flesh and blood circumstances and scenarios that take place. And so I just kind of wonder what your thoughts are in terms of these sort of silent victims that don't have a voice and don't know what to do and have basically been tossed to the side.
Right. No, if all the people who had been victims, the parents, the children, the grandchildren who have been victims of the divorce industry, were to speak out, or to become organized and articulate, and to speak out against it, they would have enormous power. They would be. We're talking about tens of millions of people. If they could get together, they could have a huge impact. And there has been very much a kind of divide and rule strategy here by the divorce industry. Unfortunately, too, as you indicate, much of the narrative has come to be dealing with the symptoms. Creating reform, 50-50 custody arrangements, waiting periods, reforming the child support system, abolishing gender bias, pointing out that women are also commit domestic violence, and child abuse, these sorts of things. I think these are tangents. These are peripheral issues. The most basic, I think we do have to go to the root of the most basic issues, and there's two things I see as the most basic. One is the spousal bond, which is violated by the no-fault divorce, and the second is the parent-child bond. No-fault divorce and parental rights. Those are the two basic constitutional principles that need to be fundamental issues that need to be addressed directly, and the rest flows from that. Once you grant those. Once you allow parental rights to be violated, once you allow spousal bond to be violated, then the narrative is they've won. We're fighting on the opposition turf. They can bring in all kinds of nonsense. Best interest of the child. What about domestic violence? What about child abuse? What about deadbeat dads? All of these kind of things come in, which are really secondary. The first thing you have to deal with the issue at the root, which is, the bonds of the family, the spousal bond and the parent-child bond, and those are absolutely critical.
Mm.